Hello everybody and welcome to Statistically Speaking. This is the next video in this matrix series. And today we're gonna take a look at scalar multiplication. So let's just see what it is. So here we have a 2x2 matrix where we have A11, A12, A21 and A22. This can just represent any number, but this is the matrix that we have. Scalar multiplication is what happens when we multiply a matrix with a constant. So let's just pick any constant. So let's say k, just any constant, times a, and a needs to be bold. K is a constant, so that isn't bold. And what would then this give us? Well, what happens when we multiply a matrix with a constant is that we multiply each element with that constant. So we would get k times a11 and then k times a12 and then k times a21 and then k times a22. It's just that simple. You multiply a matrix with a constant, and then every element in that matrix gets multiplied with that constant. So let's have an example with numbers. So let's say we have a matrix. Let's say we have a matrix B, and that is 9, 2, 15, and 11. And let's say we want to multiply this matrix with 2. So we have 2b, bold it up. Then we would have 2 times 9, well that is 18. 2 times 2 is 4. 15 times 2 is 30. And 11 times 2 is 22. That is what we will get when we multiply b by 2. So, like you might have already figured out, if you would have a matrix where everything is divisible by the same number, then you could just multiply it with, let's say we have this matrix. Every number here is divisible by 2, since, well, we timed it with 2, so if we would then have this matrix and we would time it with 1/2, well, that would then give us this matrix. Because then we would have 18 times 1/2, that is 9. 4 times 1/2 is 2, and so on. So it can be very useful to simplify a matrix. So we now figured out what k times a was. But when it comes to matrices, we can't always assume the same thing is true when we flip things around like we can with regular numbers. So we need to ask ourselves, is a times k the same thing? And, well, what will happen if we have k behind the matrix, the constant behind the matrix? It's simply that instead of having k times a11, you will get a11 times k, and then a12 times k, and so on. Now, is that the same as the other way around? Well, yes, that is the same. So that means that k times a is the same as a times k. And that is everything that scalar multiplication is. It's just that simple. You have a matrix and you multiply it with a constant, and then every element in the matrix gets multiplied with that constant. In these examples, I have two 2x2 matrices, but there can be any dimensions. You could have a 5x4 matrix. It will still be each element gets multiplied with that constant. So I hope that was helpful.